Okay, you're live. It's a little late, but I decided I could cram in this video since it shouldn't be too long. But want to give it due justice. I had always thought I had mentioned the hats in a previous episode, and if I go to my own headwear playlist, obviously lately I've been doing a lot of hats. More in the fedora style, like I'm wearing. Some would argue that this hat is actually too nice for this shirt, maybe. I don't know. But if you don't know, a fedora has a brim that's, kind of about yay big, and they can be shorter. And I'm going to show a couple other ones. And not always, but often we'll have a pinch crown and, toward the front, and sometimes a ribbon instead of a leather band, and da-da-da. And I've done a lot of videos about that. And in recent time, in episode 325, I think I showed the similar to this in the gray hat that I bought that's meant to be more like an Indiana Jones looking thing. But the brim refuses to kind of sit properly, so it doesn't quite give the look that I want. So it kind of has more of a pork pie impression. So if you don't know, a pork pie is a stingier brim, but it can usually be snapped down and technically is similar, but not the exact same thing as a trilby. And again, the trilby having a bit more of the teardrop shape of the pinch front instead of a more oval or round crown, but an even stingier brim, slightly different than the Bavarian or Tyrolean hats, which I think I did show those in the lederhosen video way back when. And I did a video, episode 40, about cowboy hats, trilby hats, and fedora hats already. And that has not gotten very many views. That has only gotten 39 views. So I thought that would be a more popular video. And then, of course, the Indiana Jones fedora, the episode 5, only got 25 views. I thought that would be much more popular. Some of my other hat videos have done pretty well. So this one, maybe nobody will watch at all, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then, of course, I had talked about the US versus UK style, and I don't know if I'd really talked about these kind of hats that much in that, but probably. And that was episode 140 that got a whopping 5 views, and 2 of those are probably me. So, yeah, you can check that out if you're interested in going back through my playlist. And then I did a bunch of cowboy hats and some other Indiana Jones things and yada, yada. But so, yeah, I hadn't really, but the lederhosen is not in that playlist, I guess. I thought it was. Well, I don't know what number that is, and I'm not outerwear. Maybe it's an outerwear. I have a playlist called Outerwear where I talk about Hobbit stuff and sailing stuff and other things. So this will be a little bit long of an intro while I scroll here for a second, but we're live, so we're just figuring it out. But I didn't, maybe I skimmed past it in the other playlist and I didn't notice, but I don't remember. I don't see it in this playlist either. Well, I did it somewhere. If you type in lederhosen or something in the menu along with my, practical menswear channel name or whatever, it'll surely pop up. And don't call me Shirley. Sorry about the ums. They come when we are confused and not sure where our video went. Okay, but anyway, and we're at over 4 minutes of me scrolling. Sorry for the delay. But anyway, so you have these 2 types, and then I've shown similar real tweed things, and this, of course, being kind of a fake tweed thing, but it's another one of the ones that was in the Scala video. Oh, and this one was supposed to be in the Dorfman Pacific video and didn't make it, but I think this was in the Winter Hats video already. So I don't have a hat talk episode this week where I talk about more generic, things or comments and what. But this is meant to look like it's not pure wool, but it's half wool. No, not quite half wool. 35 wool and 50 acrylic and some nylon. But I have similar, more structured things that are wool. But this is also not a Homburg hat. I'm not really sure what you'd call this, but it's kind of similar to a Homburg hat, more so than technically a fedora, right? Even though fedoras will, again, be more structured like those old-timey ones. Similar to what Sean Connery wore in Last Crusade. Then, of course, we have the Derby. I'm not entirely sure why I have this. You know, at the time, I was kind of... Sometimes certain shapes are called the bowler. I think the bowler has a slightly different crown than this. I'm not sure, but this was a reproduction, not a historical whatever. And... again, with the ribbon instead of the leather, and this one has a feather, which I'm sure most people would just remove that and put it in something else. And obviously I haven't worn this, but again, Charlie Chaplin, right? Other historical, that famous photo of supposedly William H. Bonney, Billy the Kid, wearing this, not a cowboy hat. This is a very common hat out on the prairie. This one having a lining instead of just felt, but you can usually remove that if you're really, really, you know, inspired. No ventilation, you know, just a standard crown. So this, I'm pretty sure predates the bowler historically, but kind of inspires the shape. I'm sorry, the Homburg. Not the Derby and the bowler, like I said, I think there's slightly different shapes to them that, you know, you could get more technical, but something that I collected a few years ago. But since I'm not typically trying to dress all turn of the century, you know, I have friends who wear that kind of thing with bow ties and such. Once I think they probably don't even do regular bow ties; they probably do clip-on bow ties. But the Homburg being a more, slightly more shaped hat. Not necessarily more structured, but instead of just a round open crown. So typically you're looking, again, you know, you're not looking to necessarily wear it with a button down collar. I do have another one that was going to show in white, but you could probably get away with it these days. You don't necessarily have to wear it with a tuxedo or with a costumey, old-timey outfit, although again, I think more people would all argue with the point collar would be a little bit more formal, so a little bit more correct, or again, same as with Mr. Derby, same as with the, also you could have a more old-timey collar if you weren't getting a removable collar. I had this one modified to be rounded. Unfortunately, this is a short sleeve shirt. It was the only one I had available to really kind of modify that would work correctly. So it doesn't go the full measure. But if I'm wearing it with a jacket, most people don't notice that it doesn't have cuffs, or I can wear it with a vest. And of course, it does still have focus. It does still have slightly noticeable holes where the buttons were. But once you put on a bow tie or a vest, most people won't notice that there's little dents there, that type of thing. But this is just a regular Oxford cloth, not anything super fancy, but it turns into a turn of the century again thing. So I had gotten this in the standard black, which maybe I should, and this was Stacey Adams of all places, so I don't know if they still make them or not. I think it was kind of when people were doing a lot of costumey thing with the 70s disco kind of look more than, and the girls were, you know, the 304 costumes perhaps. Again, also with the feather, although I think you'd be more inclined to leave the feather in this. So it does have a lining. It does have the name. It does have a stiff felt where you're not turning the brim down or any of that sort of thing, and it's going to look really silly. So like I said, I'm not. So the crown and the brim, similar to what we were just looking at. I'm not going to take it back out of the bag because you get the idea. But again, a bowler, you can have a bowler that's a bit more squared off like this than rounded, but then this would not be pressed down. And I think it'd be almost basically the same hat, but we've really made it a bit more oval than round and maybe tweaked the brim slightly. And this one is not perfect. It's a little big. Although if I had longer hair, maybe it would stay on a little better. So yeah, my head shape, not quite as oval as this hat size. And that might be part of the reason I kind of shied away from them when I first got them and not really wore them. But I'm not going to black tie things where this would be an appropriate hat if I didn't have a silk top hat, which I don't. But I'm not going to meet the king either. So again, kind of a throwbacky thing, but I would have to get it. You're supposed to be able to put, felt in the hat band and shrink down the sizing and whatnot a little bit. So getting a little bit of felt that would work, probably wouldn't be too bad. Although, again, the Akubra felts that come with them are a little bit thin and flimsy. I think I would look for something a little bit more thick than that. And they had them in other colors, so this is an odd choice. Again, the gray one that I really wanted to go with the fedora was more the color that I wanted, but I have a lot of brown stuff, so I could actually get a brown one that is even less likely that most people would wear compared to the black. And this lighting is terrible, but it's a pretty dark chocolate brown that you could almost wear it with some semi-formal things instead of just a lighter tweed or whatever. But again, same. The fit's a little tiny better. This one fits a little. Yeah, this one's a little big on me. This one's a little closer. I wouldn't need to put in as much felt in this one. So it just kind of varies, luck of the draw. So maybe I'll wear this one once in a while when I get the hankering, because I have a lot of brown stuff, and it's it's a perfectly fine hat if it's not too sunny of a day. But see, you got a little bit of space here, more than I need also, but it's not pinching here. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit warm. So I don't really want to put on new hats, but these have the leather band. So they are meant to conform more to your head as you wear them. So with time, but again, you'd have to have an occasion to really wear it a lot. So if you were going to an occasion where you wanted to wear it, I would say wear it around the house for, preferably a couple weeks at least, and see how well it does conforming like that. Again, but if you're not, using it as your walking hat as such and wearing it to an event, then you're less worried about that. Whereas if you're going to just make it your day wear hat, then you're going to need it to want it to fit, pretty well. And this ribbon, I'm almost tempted to take this off and swap it out on that one of the Indiana Jones hats or whatever, because I think it's a bit darker and closer to the more accurate color. But I don't necessarily want to mess this hat up either. But you could probably have a bit of fun with it, again, if you're not trying to be fully formal, and do a sort of different color ribbon or something. Or you could even put a black ribbon on this just for contrast and still be kind of muted and stylistic like that, rather than trying to be super flamboyant with it, as opposed to pink or purple or yellow polka dots or whatever. Whereas the black one, yeah, if you wanted to go silly with it, you could put almost any other color here and have a field day, I guess. But most people wouldn't spend the money to do that unless they're really, 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 you know, trying to look like a Batman villain or something. But so yeah, like I said, there's not like a lot of heavy. I don't know what the quality of the felt is or anything. I don't know if they still offer these, but they couldn't have been too super expensive at the time, or I wouldn't have bought them. This is just about Stacey Adams. Founded in, is that an 18 or a 19? I don't know. It's really small. I can barely read this. Founded in whatever year, Stacey Adams has long been a part of American fashion, distinctive styling, and the highest of quality, in quality, craftsmanship have made Stacey Adams part of our culture for generations. I can't tell if that's an 18 or a 19. I'm probably going to go with 19. I don't think Stacey Adams has been around that many centuries. But anywho, so yeah, like I said, you can check if they still make that, or maybe you can find them, on eBay and whatnot. I guess if I was being less lazy, I could look up Stacey Adams real quick, as if that's my job. Brand of menswear, shoes, clearance, cap-toe Oxford hats. They do still have hats. Okay. And here's a whole bunch of fedoras, what they're calling fedoras, but most of them are definitely trilbies. And yeah. So there's that. Our story. Here we go. Yeah, it looks like it's 1875 or 18. Yeah. Rochester, New York. You think I would know this kind of stuff already, but whatever. So it's two guys, William Stacey and Henry Adams, and they bring you mostly footwear and some other stuff. Okay. So I wasn't reading that wrong. I was just, my eyes were not focusing on the number. But so there you go. And we have a let me go back here. Yeah, I don't see, well, page 1 of 6, view all. Okay, I guess I got to put like hats high to low price. But I'm mostly seeing a lot of woven stuff that is probably acrylic. Here's some flat caps. Okay, if you don't know what a flat cap is, standard thing that I've been wearing in tons of videos. Oh, no, here we go. Well, these are calling fedoras Evren fedora, $70. It's pinch front, but it's got kind of a pork pie brim. So it's a slightly different shape. And ash fedora, again with the feather, a little bit wider of a brim with a slightly different ribbon. There's a bunch of fedoras here now. They all look like felt. They're all going to be about the same. This is the, what do you call it, woolen felt or whatever. Oh, here you go, Homburg hat, $85. Yeah, so they do still have the black one anyway. And here it is in tan, red, blue, white, and then a bunch more flat caps. So they don't have the same chocolate brown necessarily, but they do have a kind of beige. Maybe they have some other ones, and I'm just not seeing them. So you can definitely get the black one still, at least. And that blue's a little bright for my taste, and this red is definitely not going to happen. And then the sizing, like I said, I think it's pretty true to size. I'm sure I ordered probably a medium, and like you said, or like I said, I think it's kind of luck of the draw, how they're going to fit. Since you're not trying them on in the store, you might want to order 2 sizes, depending on what your head shape, feels like. Details. Originally a hunting hat used in 19th century Germany, the Homburg is characterized by its single gutter and wide grosgrain band. This design takes that classic style and adds satin lining, a stylish brim. Like I said, you can remove the lining. And feather detail. Again, the feather being kind of a hunting relic artifact more than a fashion-y wearing it to the ball, I would say. But you do you. 2.5-inch bound brim wool felt, which again is probably, I don't know if there's going to be any rabbit in that or if it's all sheep or what. I think if it was rabbit, it would cost quite a bit more. So not a super expensive investment if you like the look of it from them. Or, I'm sure there's way more expensive ones that you can look into if you wanted beaver or, nutria or some other more durable felt. But if you're not wearing it that often, I don't see that being the issue. So anyway, okay, so as always, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the comments. I don't know if there's anything else I really need to go into. As always, I've activated the Buy Me a Coffee feature, so if you're feeling generous and you want to fund more hat videos or just get me a pizza, that's acceptable. If you have a hankering for romance or marriage in your future, I would say boycott Tinder. I just did a long video installment of that series, so I thought it was going to be like 2 or 3 half-an-hour videos, and instead it's turned into an ordeal, but still an important message to get out there, I think. And yeah, like I said, I guess we'll wrap it up there.